the update. So
how are you doing? What are you doing? What is Community Forklift doing? What are their, because somebody was just, I met somebody in the community who was telling me they found this wonderful place where they went and had a wonderful afternoon, and have I ever heard of it? And it's Community Forklift. And I said, yes, about 10 years ago, they had our shelves on their website. Yes. So anyway, you were beloved by these people, but we have no clue that there was
what we want.
With, so what's happening?
So things are just continuing at the moment, status quo. I'm not really sure what the status of the situation with Washington Gas is. Of course, we never really knew 100%. So, but I am doing some reuse related consulting work. I'm trying to catch up on some other things. So I've been talking to folks around the country about other reuse projects. I've been I sit on a group of folks with the Northeast Recycling group. I don't know if folks are familiar with that, but they're a pretty great group. And we've been holding seminars. So I'll be hosting a seminar in April on the economics of reuse. And we just did one in December on sort of the climate issues related to reuse. I was actually a guest on the first one we did, which was basically looking at sort of reuse operations. I've been thinking about the possibility of working on sort of more national efforts around this. And of course, you know, I have had some conversations a little bit about some of the efforts in the county. Although I don't think that's moving quickly, but I think it's, you know, I think with Andrea at the helm and the staff, you know, there's good chance to make some progress this time around, which would be great to see.
Have they approached you anything for any project that they might be wanting to do? Because Andrea had last summer told us about repurposing facility she was dreaming of.
Yeah, so I had talked to a couple delegates about it. So there was some interest at the state level from delegates who were Prince George's County representatives. And I know that Andrea was really supportive. I had reached out to her. I guess she's just really, really busy. I did hear back from her just recently. So we haven't gotten too much further on it. So I don't know if Kevin or someone with the solid waste team, you know, knows anything further about progress. I haven't heard anything new. But so, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, we can maybe get something moving in the county. That would be very exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nancy, I haven't heard from Andrea, but I will check with her. So she's supposed to attend tonight, but she's not available. Will do my best to have her around next month. But hopefully before that, I can get updates from her about the thing that you mentioned. So yeah. I'll try my best to update the group.
That'd be great. Thanks a lot.
Cool.
Nancy?
Yeah.
This is Dave Brosh. I guess this whole thing with Washington Gas has been kind of a indeterminate thing, but do you know why they wanted that facility or that site? Wanted to know why they were thinking about taking that site. What were they going to use it? Do you know what they're going to use it for?
It's kind of the $9 million question. You know, it wasn't clear that they had an active plan. I think there's been some long-standing concerns about the site. You know, it is a contaminated site. It is a brownfield site. So, I mean, they haven't stated any particular thing. So just to be clear, You know, I think, you know, our sense was there was a discomfort with the site. And when the site was when Washington Gas itself was purchased by AltaGas, I think we thought, you know, they just perceived this property as a liability.
When did this purchase happen? This was recent?
It was it was actually 2019. Just before COVID, the year before, sort of, you know, about a year before COVID, AltaGas, and it, you know, we weren't even aware that the purchase was happening. You know, it's similar to the Exelon purchase where Exelon purchased Pepco, and so, you know, these larger companies were buying up regional energy suppliers, and so AltaGas purchased Washington Gas.
It's called what? Ultra Gas?
Alta, A-L-T-A, Alta. It's a Canadian held company. You can look it up on the internet.
Okay.
So that's a company that now owns Washington Gas. Washington Gas was an independent, and they purchased it.
Nancy, while you were still there, and I guess there was these rumors going around that, you know, you might have to vacate. Were you at that, I guess you at that point you were looking for maybe alternative sites?
It wasn't clear what Washington Gas was really, you know, it wasn't clear what the next steps were. So we were, of course, you know, planning for both scenarios. One was to stay, which was our preferred scenario, and the other was to leave and to be, you know, do our due diligence and, you know, really look around and see what else was available. The problem that's happening for these centers around the country, and there was this very interesting subsequent article that WAMU staff did, which looked at the national scene. The problem has been is that a lot of the warehouse spaces around the country have become much more valuable space for entities like Amazon and point in time warehouse. You know, office space used to be a premium, then became a non-premium, and it became the warehouse space that was what was desirable. And so that's a phenomenon. If a Philadelphia store closed because of site issues, and these kind of operations need large piece of property to make them, or fairly large site to make them work. I had been looking into, and so these are some of the things I've been talking to other folks around the country, is how do we manage this in terms of making it the economy work, part of it work, at the same time that we're able to increase and scale up the reuse of materials and the recirculation of usable materials. And it's both labor intensive and space intensive operation. So the question is how quickly, you know, depending on the location, there's like an inverse relationship. If you have a high traffic location, you can have probably a smaller space. Because you can move materials more quickly through it, but you have to have a place to process the stuff. That's part of the problem. And you don't necessarily need to do that on site. Like it didn't have to happen at, for example, the community forklift site. It could happen somewhere else. It could happen North County. And this is part of the conversations I had with Andrea, was potentially there could be a processing site and then redistribute the materials to distributors. And it could be that the materials could be redistributed to a network of different kinds of operations. They could be small thrift-like operations in under-resourced communities, for example, where you could develop small, you know, house goods stores in under-resourced communities that could be supplied by the transfer station activity, which means, you know, you could give them, you know, they would have sort of some of the basics and maybe a 5,000 square foot store as opposed to a 30,000 square foot store. And part of that would be subsidized, like the county subsidizes recycling. You know, the public subsidizes these operations, and the public could potentially, between public and private partners, could help subsidize some of this. Of course, some of it could be partly self-funded, like forklift is almost completely self-funded through the operation. But that's not always possible.
So did Andrea, because she had earlier sounded very hopeful about being able to ask the Tooth Fairy for land
Yeah,
for such a site.
yeah. Exactly. That's what it is. It's a tooth fairy.
Did
We need the reused denture tooth fairy to come and drop us some reused dentures.
did
Yeah. Yeah, I think she is. And I have to give her, she's very enthusiastic and passionate about this. I surmise at this point that she is, as she's become, you know, she's fairly new and dealing with the team, is that she's just been really, really busy. So yeah, I have no reason to think she's not still committed or enthusiastic about it. Just we haven't been able to do much moving forward yet.
So anything we can do with encouraging the council, you heard that today, all of those bills, 12 through 18, all went flying through with flying colors. The ones redoing all the bad stuff from the past council. So, you know, this is a good council. Maybe we can get help from them.
Yeah, I think, you know, we should think about what that strategy looks like. I guess, you know, in terms of the 10-year plan. And by the way, I heard I was in the car driving to Charlottesville, and for the light, Kevin tried to help, but I could not get, and I tried everything. I pulled over in several gas stations but I couldn't say anything, but I heard everything. So I heard the whole conversation about the 10-year plan.
Well, thanks for listening in.
But I do think that it's, you know, either through that vehicle, or I suppose, you know, we could, you know, say that we'd like to accelerate certain aspects, you know, of the plan and see things move along more quickly.
Because
We could, there's no reason we couldn't make those recommendations and a sort of more expedited timeline. We could talk to, of course, we need to talk to staff about that.
yeah. So the council chair is Tom Dernoga, who is our neighbor and you know, decades old, good buddy.
And supporter.
And supportive, exactly. You know, Sierra Club member, etc. So
the timing is excellent to really get some traction.
Because there could be big advantages if the county is behind it and helps with multiple distributions.
Yes. Yeah, and frankly, there hasn't been, you know, enough movement around the country. There's places that have been, for example, Andrea and I have been talking about, you know, that the county would maybe help give some kind of contracts to providers to assist, public contracts. And that would be really, really helpful for different agencies who are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of effort. There's a number of targeted efforts, you know, that I think could, I mean, the question is how to build capacity. And the other part is how do you reinvest the efforts so they have both, you know, they meet sustainability goals, but they also meet community economic development goals. I mean, they're sort of, when you have stuff, you have an opportunity to redistribute for multi-purposes.
Sure. Well, cool. So I know that you have as much support as we can give you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Both as a SWAC, and I know I can say, at least for me personally, and I bet a lot of the other members here also can say them personally and, you know, through their civic associations and whatnot.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Sure.
Okay, so maybe we should get on with the agenda, it now being 1/3 of our way through our meeting. Okay, 10-year solid waste plan. You guys saw.
Can you make a roll call first? Just if we quorum.
Sorry, yes, we do. Yes. Wait a minute. Where's my list of members? didn't print it out. Kevin, can you do the roll call? Oh, no, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. Alexander, of course, isn't on anymore. Me, yes. Bill Walmsley,
Present.
Chuck,
Present.
Present.
Dave, you're here.
I'm here.
Jonathan,
Present.
Mohammed, Nancy, and Nyla.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, so everybody except Mohammed. So we are well beyond our quorum and can happily proceed. Thank you for catching that, Kevin, that we needed that. So you guys saw that when Kevin sent out back in December, and then I sent out today his summary of what he had heard previously from people and the SWAC about 10-year solid waste plan comments. And members were supposed to email me suggestions, and I hate computer problems. I just heard today from the IT guy that my new computer just arrived this morning. So maybe I'll be, connected to the 21st century. At any rate, but did anybody send anything to me in the last month? I don't believe I got anything from anyone. 10-year solid waste plan comments.
I sent you stuff whenever.
Right, yeah, yours were back a whenever. I think they are.
Barbara, didn't we have a compilation of ideas over the last 3 months?
Right, yes.
I thought Kevin had all of those and was going to put it all together.
He did. He sent it out in December, and I sent.
All right, I want to reconfirm that, it's not like we didn't submit stuff. There's stuff out there. It's just, where is it?
He sent it out in December. I sent it out earlier today to everyone.
I saw what you sent out. Thank you.
No, but I sent it, that had what Kevin had sent out with everybody
Okay.
else's comments also.
I have the compilation of your comments.
And as you saw, then last night, starting at 1 a.m., I decided it was time to read this stupid document cover to cover.
Why would you say stuff?
And put in a bunch of comments that which I sent to you all. If anybody thinks that any are really stupid, tell me and we'll take them out. And if not, I'll submit them as my comments to Kevin. So it's all the ones in my email from 4:30 today.
Barbara, I'm in favor of submitting all the comments that are out there right now and let Kevin and crew decide what they want to consider.
Yeah, really.
The more the better.
Right.
Some of them may be considered stupid, but let them decide they're stupid.
Okay. I thought they were all brilliant, of course, but
I sent mine to you after the meeting though. That's Barbara.
Oh. Okay, let me hunt. Or okay, I will dig them up, but if you don't mind resubmitting them to Kevin, and I apologize. I don't know if you also if you copied them to him, but if you didn't and I didn't forward them to him, if you don't mind forwarding them to both him and me.
Okay.
Let's appreciate it. Okay, so do we have anything more on the 10-year solid waste plan, really? Oh, I guess, Kevin, we should ask. So the question is, we're submitting these comments. You guys are now going to be writing.
That's correct, yes. So we have until end of May to come up with a draft document.
Okay, so could we trouble you in early April, mid-April, whenever, when you have the N-2 version of the draft to send it to us, that we could make our chicken scratches on it before you get the final one, before that is before it goes to MDE and the county and the residents and all of that.
So we will.
I thought there was an indication in the past that we weren't going to be able to comment in a draft form, that we'd have to wait until it went public.
Well, this is what I'm asking.
Is that changed now?
So as I've mentioned before, there is a comment period for the 10-year plan
No, but I said if we could get it before it goes to MDE.
And I think we were told before, Barbara, that we can't do that.
And I'm
I think
badgering
we've been
him.
told
and
that
asking-
more than once. That's why I'm asking Kevin, has that changed?
I'm badgering him and asking if we can do it.
No, it hasn't changed. Sorry, I got confused. So the only time that the public can look at the document is during the comment period. And that's where you can input all your comments. But we will go through all your comments that you submitted to us, and we will make sure that they are incorporated into the document. But we cannot promise that all of your comments will be added into the 10-year plan. But we will make sure that all the significant comments will be incorporated into the document.
Okay, but even though we are, and when you look at our mission, we're supposed to advise and give recommendations and comments to the county executive, to the county council, the county executive, I assume that includes DOE. So wouldn't that also include looking at the draft document? I mean, it kind of seems that we are, how our mission is stated in our enabling legislation, we are considered 3 steps up the deity scale from the general public.
I will check with Martin again on this. I just can't state anything definite about it, but let me go back to you on this matter. I understand the role of SWAC in terms
Barbara,
of
I can tell you from when this commission or board was envisioned, it was envisioned that it would be more of an independent body, not an arm of the agency or not an arm of the executive, to make independent recommendations that would be incorporated into documents and to review documents as they're being processed. But again, if there's a determination made that we're considered the general public, I don't know how you fight City Hall if that's what they've decided.
But that's not what our legislation says. It says that we are here.
I understand what it says. I understand what the intent was when it was done, because I was involved when it was drafted.
Well,
And
let's try to get them to hold their feet to the fire.
and we used Montgomery County as our guide.
Okay. Well,
And
They operate more or less independently, and they don't answer necessarily to the department.
Excuse me, this is Jonathan. Kevin, how was it done in the past? Maybe the last 8 years, how was it done?
So I wasn't involved in previous SWAC, but
Okay.
I know that in your bylaws, I'm not sure if Chuck is familiar with this. The SWAC is required to submit an annual report to the county executive and the county council,
That is true.
right?
Yes,
So
and we did submit one probably 3 or 4 years ago, and there's only been one done to my knowledge.
do you have a
Okay,
copy of it, Chuck?
Do I have a copy of it? I don't know. I'll have to look, but there was one done because it was basically outlining formulating of the board and how it was constituted and adopting the rules, and then there were copies of minutes were provided. But there was one done in the past,
Okay.
only one in the entire time.
So that's what I'm looking into.
Somebody in your office should have it.
Yeah, yes. So I'll try to get hold of that report. So you have a template for your annual report to the county executive office.
If I can put my hands on it, I suspect I've got an electronic version of it someplace in my computer, unless it got wiped out when my computer got wiped out, but I'll see if I can find something. And if so, I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
And if they want this annual report from us, which month, is it by fiscal year or?
I think it's by calendar year, right, Chuck?
I don't remember. I think the law specifically says when it's supposed to be filed, but I remember it was calendar year, fiscal year. All I know is because of the timing and because of the problem with getting a quorum and having vacancies filled, getting the report done was quite tedious.
There was a final report issued in 2017. I have an electronic copy of it here.
There you go, Bill. You were on commissioner of the board back then as well.
Right.
Yeah.
If you
And-
don't mind circulating that bill, that would be very helpful. And here I'm
Sure.
looking at the enabling legislation. It just says submit to the county executive and county council and make available to the general public an annual report on the activities of the commission. It has gives no guidance on what.
Yeah, that's the reason we need a template from Kevin, please.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we're happy to do so.
And I suppose in that report, you can make recommendations as well, right?
Yeah, there were findings and recommendations in the first one that we did.
Okay.
And there were reports of why some things weren't being done, and the pitfalls, the pros and cons, such as the fact that we didn't have a quorum or that we couldn't get people to attend the meetings, etc.
Okay, we will all work on that once we get the template.
So-
Oh. Somebody was saying something? Okay. The CEX stands for County Executive.
No,
What
Yeah.
does CEX stand for if it's not?
County Executive Office. That's
What?
County Executive Office.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It's just a shortened abbreviation for the County Executive Office.
And so who's?
when did they put in X? I thought it's just CE.
So internally we use sex.
Don't worry
County
about it.
Executive
That should
Office.
have been like, oh, county executive office instead of CE, like a CEO.
Yeah, in our internal
The X
communication.
is confusing. That's why I said it's no. Remove the X so that we know that not to be confused. Exactly.
Okay.
No, because here it says, according to the
Sorry.
legislation,
Oh,
it says
Jesus.
to the county
Who
executive.
cares?
Yeah, no, but I mean, the question is, are we supposed to be submitting this to Angela Alsobrooks when it says county executive, or do we do it through you guys to submit to her?
I believe the last time it went directly to the county executive and to the chairman of the county council.
Yeah, that's what the bylaws
It
say.
didn't go through anybody in any department. It went directly to the county executive and to the chair of the county council.
Exactly. That is in accordance with the bylaw.
Yes.
Yeah, but the bylaws are sort of vague. It could be interpreted.
No, that's not vague.
Okay, good. Okay, we can do that. Okay, update on Alexandra's replacement.
So I just communicated with the county executive office, and they will begin the process of looking for the replacement of Alexandra. They will keep me posted about the search. But if you have recommendations to make, let us know, so they can have the list of potential members for the SWAC.
Kevin, one suggestion I would make on that to make sure that they're looking countywide and because you look at the way the commission is currently constituted, it's kind of centered in certain areas of the county and not countywide.
Okay, yes.
I mean, it's wonderful if it is countywide. It's wonderful if it reflects the demographics of the county. It's wonderful if it does if it's wonderful if it reflects socioeconomics of the county. All of those things are wonderful. None of that is in the enabling legislation. It's getting warm bodies. It's in the enabling legislation. So, I mean, we certainly should. I'm not poo-pooing that at all. But what we need are good people who care about the environment. Okay, good. And we hope that this will go a lot more rapidly than when I know when Dave and I came on, and I suspect it's for many of you, it was like a 2-year process, 2.5-year process. It was kind of ridiculous, the time. So hopefully this is more rapid. I know Nylan luckily got on very quickly, so hopefully we can do that. Okay, moving right along. The University of Maryland DOE PG methane study.
So there will be a meeting tomorrow between our DOE and UMD along with the other partners. So what's gonna happen tomorrow is RRD will make a virtual presentation of the Brown Station Road landfill and discuss with UMD on the way forward for the study. So the first step is a meeting tomorrow.
And by UMD, you mean this Russ Dickerson?
University of Maryland, yes.
But Russ Dickerson will be part of this.
That's correct, yes. University of Maryland, MDE, George Washington University, and 2 other partners. There are 5 to 6 partners involved in this study.
I think it's the
And-
University of Chicago.
University of Chicago.
Oh, is that the lady whose seminar we went to, Dave?
Yes. Kevin, maybe this is, you're probably not making the decisions, but why do we have to have a kind of a Zoom call? Why can't, I think the scientists that want to be out there in the field doing research, it seems like it's been a very long process, or it hasn't been happening at all. So I kind of question what's going on and why it's taking so long.
Maybe
You could ask your supervisors that question.
Mhm. You mean this study, David, the UMD study?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Uh,
Because there are like for example, DOE is drafting a non-disclosure agreement for this study, just to make sure that the results from this study will be taken care of, carefully, and released to the public, in a manner that's that's not going to put the county in a bad light again, just like what happened before. So we're just making sure that all the stakeholders in the study are involved, especially DOE, being the host of this research, making sure that the results are conveyed to the public in a proper way based on the findings. Thus, there's a non-disclosure agreement that's being worked on this.
You just said 2 different things, though. You said first that the second thing you said was that the information is conveyed according to the findings. But you earlier said you want to make sure that the county is not put in a bad light. But it's conceivable that they're going to find things that are embarrassing relative to the statements the county has made that could make them interpreted as a bad light, but you still want them to honestly release findings.
Right, because if you recall, there was a previous study, right, that was conducted by UMD, and it was some of the findings were captured by a news outfit, and I think even Professor Dickerson admitted that there was some misinterpretation in the results. So in this second study, the county would like to make sure that proper protocols are observed in the release of the study, regardless of of the findings. just to make sure that, the county is not put in bad light again.
But I mean, at some point, the findings can be released to the public. Just not.
Yes, yeah, of course.
You're
because
not saying that if they find that if there's more methane, then
it's going to be released
like
because
thought it was.
the money that will be
Never
used for the research is public money. So the public has the right to have access to the data.
Okay.
But it's moving on, David, with the meeting tomorrow, and hopefully things will move fast after.
Is SWAC members invited to the meeting since it's going to be offline?
No, only the partners and DOE.
Because we are also stakeholders.
It's a technical presentation tomorrow.
Okay.
Kevin, is it live or is it online?
It's online. Mhm.
So you're having a virtual meeting.
Yes, it's a virtual meeting.
Is it being taped?
I think so. Yeah, it's going to be recorded.
So you can get a copy.
Will that recording be made available at any point?
Let me check on it. But I will provide you with the updates with the meeting tomorrow. But let me check.
Okay. Thank
David,
you.
are you attending the meeting, David?
I wasn't asked to.
That's interesting.
I have to say, we have a quorum now after a long time. People attend regularly, so there's interest in this group, and we've been pretty good about being at all these monthly meetings. But I still kind of question about what is our role, and do we have any kind of real power? Things are being done, but we aren't really being included. So I kind of wonder what our role is in, maybe even why we should be doing this. If we're kind of on the outside, and I think I just don't understand. I don't understand it.
Prime example being that we can't see the draft 10-year solid waste plan until the rest of the public does. In my book, at least.
And like Chuck was saying, this meeting tomorrow is, why shouldn't some SWAC people be at that meeting?
Exactly.
And as I said earlier, Barbara, I don't think the commission's functioning the way, at least those of us that were involved in its ultimate formation, envisioned it functioning.
Maybe it's
We do seem to be excluded from a lot of things that I think the idea was that we would have some input in, and it would be upfront input, not after the fact input.
Mhm.
Maybe we could start doing that. Maybe we can get the new, more helpful council to encourage that.
I still think it's going to come down to the county executive and the administration people, not the county or not the council. I think the council's always been on board. I always thought it was the county executive and the department that didn't carry forward with things, such as years ago, we approved having a transfer station and we got the bonding, and the agency never went forward and drug their feet. Until now, it's no more.
Well,
When was that?
What'd you say, Nancy?
I said, when was that?
Wow, it was before this one, so
It was before the one that I was involved with too.
yeah,
Yes.
Bill, when did you go on?
I think it was 2014, maybe, something
Yeah,
like that.
It's
It was
gotta
before that.
It's got to be the early to mid, yeah, before 2010, I believe. But there were the bond was actually approved for a transfer station.
Was there a
Down-
site
down-
identified?
Pardon me?
Was there a site identified?
There was a site, there was a study done, there were hearings in North County and South County. Park and
What do you mean by
Planning
the
was
transfer
involved in the process. There's actually 2 written reports.
Oh my
And
God.
It was decided that, or was recommended that it go down where they're currently doing the yard waste recycling. Because there's water there and there's a rail spur there, and you could ship it out by rail. And the funding was approved in a bond. And ultimately it got tied up in the administration changes and nothing happened.
Wow.
By transfer station, you mean that would ship all the crap to Virginia?
They would ship it out via rail.
Why should our crap get shipped to another state?
Well, back then, when the study found that
Get
was
rid
the
of it.
most economical way and the most environmentally smart way of doing it. Now,
That was the time when all the crap got shipped to China too.
I'm
think
not
it's-
arguing the point. I still think
You
it's not a
understand
bad
the
idea
verb.
personally, but at that time, the alternative was an incinerator. And people didn't want an incinerator.
Right.
But the functions of the transfer stations now have changed, so there'd be an opportunity to do it differently.
But there's 2 written reports someplace in the department, still should have them.
But I mean,
Kevin, do you think it'd be possible for you to get your hands on those?
Sure, sure. Yep.
Okay.
But as far as my memory is concerned, I think there was consideration of the transfer station if the Area C expansion did not push through. We're now in the process of getting the permits for the landfill expansion, right? I think it was one consideration to have a transfer station if there was no expansion of the current landfill.
The expansion of the landfill was the very reason why the transfer station was proposed, because the people in Cabin Branch are tired of your landfill.
but they are doing it.
We were promised, and as a community, we were promised that would be shut down by 1985. And we were
Unfortunately,
told
Chuck, it
over
really
and
seems
over
like
and
this is-
over and over it would be closed by 1985.
Unfortunately, Chuck, it really seems like whatever you were promised back in 1985 by the county, they lied, things have changed, something is different now, but they are moving forward with Area C, and I think we should, as a SWAC, move forward, assuming. that
As I've told you before, I can't support it. I understand the commission can, but I can't support it. My community does not want it there. We still have to deal with the trash and the dirty roads. And as you admit, the ozone and the smell coming off of it, even though the county says there is no smell, the studies have shown there is still odor coming off it. And
Maybe, how about we take a vote? Would people be up for taking a vote right now on
what?
how members feel about?
with Nancy, Barbara, without having the full study and the pros and cons of the various ways of disposing it, I think that would be inappropriate at this
Okay.
time.
Okay, so we'll get those.
I think that would show everybody's prejudice, and obviously I am prejudiced. I believe you're prejudiced to a particular way of disposing of it. But, you know, we actually had experts come in and testify before the board and the commission, and we had extensive studies presented to us to look at for ways of disposing of the county's solid waste. It wasn't just that this was arbitrarily done.
Okay, so why don't we get, I mean, if there are those 2 reports, they should come out to the SWAC and we should all read them and see what we think and, you know, decide if in 10 years, environmental policy.
Somebody in MDE should have them.
Okay, so Kevin, you think you might be able to try to scrounge them up?
Is Sandra Eubanks still with the county, Kevin?
Who?
Sandra Eubanks, she was the chairman of she was the staff person. They did all the typing and all the record keeping and all the collecting of the evidence that was collected, et cetera, et cetera. And her office and her staff actually typed up the documents.
I'm not sure, Shop. What's her last name again? Sorry.
Eubank, Sandra Eubanks.
Spell
Eubanks.
it. Spell it, Chuck.
Just like it sounds, I think UBANK, Eubanks, UBANKS. Sandra.
Okay, thank you. I've tried to retrieve the documents.
And you don't have a copy
share
of
with
it?
you.
I probably do someplace, but at this point, I'd have to dig through files because that was years ago, and a lot of the files that I had, I've been moved around or packed up and stored. So I'll see if I can find both of them. I thought
Please.
I had done this once before for somebody in the office. Matter of fact, I know I had. We actually provided a copy to the past director of MDE because he didn't have them.
This was to Joe Gill or to Adam Ortiz?
No, before them. Adam knew about it, I'm sure. But this was before Adam.
I thought Adam was with the DOE. Adam Ortiz was
Whatever, before they reorganized and renamed everything, whatever it was before they renamed everything.
okay.
His office was up off of McCormick Drive or up in that area, up by 202.
Okay.
In the red brick building on the 3rd or 4th floor.
Mm. Yeah, you do have,
Get this
you do
resolved.
have, I call institutional knowledge of this SWAC.
Okay. Okay, it would be very nice if we could get something on this resolved and get that we don't keep cycling. It seems like we keep cycling and cycling back to this and not getting any forward. And if we can decide what is the SWAC's position, and it certainly does not have to represent 100% unanimity of all of the members. But
Barbara, I hear Dave and a couple other people really kind of, Chuck, I guess, I think there's a question, and I don't know if it would make sense to schedule some time for this, would be a sort of bigger conversation looking at the originating legislative documents and then discussing what, if they're sufficient, and what they're vague. I mean, I actually think, to me, what they're trying to say is something more than, going around and picking up straws on the highway. It's about a bigger function. And I don't know, to me, it seems like I'm hearing and from looking at those originating documents, it might make sense to really have more of a conversation. And also, I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to think about what kind of powers are given to these commissions. For years, I sat on the Human Rights Commission in Prince George's County, and the commission had authority. Had a certain kind of responsibility, but it had some level of commensurate authority as well. So we were able to take particular kinds of action. It doesn't appear to me that this commission has really any authority much at all.
Everything written with powers and duties is advise and review and suggest and words like that.
Right, but even so, even that level is vague. There's no accountability to, if we provide material, what kind of review that might require, who's required to review it, or if there's some kind of autonomy at all. So I don't know. To me, it raises questions about governance. And whether, it makes sense to have that conversation, because it seems like it's not that clear.
But is that conversation with us or with the county council who would change the legislation, or with?
Well, I think it should be with the commission should have an internal conversation, or maybe there should be a bigger public conversation. I'm not really sure, but.
Nancy, I agree with you completely. And I was sort of thinking about that, but if we do it, it probably has to be an open meeting, because if we have more than 1 or 2 people on these calls.
Yep. Well, all of them are supposed to be open meeting, right? We're subject to the Open Meetings Act.
We can have up
unless,
to 4 people.
Unless 1 or 2 people are talking amongst themselves, but if it's
Up to 4 can talk.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I think having this conversation, I think, would really be a good thing.
Okay, so would you guys like to do this at the next SWAC meeting, at a separate meeting? What is people's preference? Do we want to do it first with ourselves before Andrea Crooms is involved?
I mean, I think if it's subject to the Open Meetings Act, anybody can attend. Chuck, I mean, you were part of some of the originating.
And I agree with you. If it's an open meeting, they can attend. And if I recall correctly, it was up to the chair to decide whether or not they would call on public to make any comments. And
I think we should, any public that comes, we should encourage them and, you know, at the end, ask for their comments. We've never had a single public person come, but more power to them if they do.
But you don't want an open end meeting with the public. You know, at some point you got to limit the extent to which that takes place. And I agree. It needs to take place. There needs to be some opportunity, but you don't want to open it up at 6 o'clock in the evening and have everybody and their brother there and allowing them to take over the meeting, because then you'll accomplish absolutely nothing.
Since we've never had a single person of the public come to
Yeah, I think we have. Yes, we have. If you check back, you'll find out some of the people that were online were not members of the commission. So they are representative of the public.
Well, that's a good thing, but I don't think we're going to be overwhelmed by people.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's a good thing too. I think the more open these meetings are, the better.
Russ Dickerson came, and he's not on the commission, and not he's. But I mean,
I think there were several others that came, at least early on.
And not since I've been involved, but you know.
Yes, I think since you've been involved.
Okay, I've missed it. Well, whatever. If we start getting inundated by too many comments from the general public and it pushes us till too late, we certainly should figure out how to deal with this. This has not become a problem yet.
If I'm not mistaken, unless it's been changed, and I don't have the bylaws in front of me, I think it's specifically set forth how the meetings would be orchestrated and at what point, if there was to be comment, when the public would be allowed to comment.
Okay, I'll send the bylaws out to everybody. Yeah. But I think in general at these meetings, you keep the last 5 or 10 minutes if there are members of the public who say they'd like to comment. And
Jonathan wants to say something, I think.
Not really. David, anyway, did you get my email? I sent email to David late this afternoon. I don't know if he gets it or not.
Yeah, I saw the email and I actually responded, and I said we should probably talk, but we couldn't talk before the meeting. There was no time, but I would like to talk with you after the meeting at some point.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
okay. So when do we want to have this SWAC member discussion that Nancy and Dave were talking about? At the next SWAC meeting, or set up a meeting in 2 weeks? Dave and Nancy, you suggested it. Answer.
I don't think we should change the meeting schedule.
No, it would be an additional special meeting.
I don't think we should change the meeting schedule.
I agree. I think we should just, if we're going to do, we should just do it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Because, I mean, at some level, it might be appropriate that if Andrea Crooms is at the next meeting, this discussion is with her, because it's kind of how she sets the department policy, how much they do or don't care about our recommendations. So.
Here we're back to having our hands tied again. I think that's part of the problem.
Right. So I mean, there are two approaches and
You're taking the approach that you're waiting for her to act, and I think we should act, and if she doesn't want to act, then that's her problem. And that's,
May I
maybe
say,
I'm wrong.
please.
I think the internal meeting should be just the SWAC members only, and not including any other entity.
I think I kind of agree, but then again, we have to talk about being an open meeting, because I think we have open meeting laws we have to abide by.
Okay.
Unless we could do it where we have less than a quorum and have a
We can have
couple
two
smaller
groups of
meetings.
4.
Hmm?
We can have, or 3 groups of 4 meeting.
Mhm. Yeah. Chuck, what do you think about that?
I'd rather have us all together where we all hear the same story at the same time from the same people, rather than divide us up among different people, because then you're going to end up, you don't know if we're all hearing the same thing exactly the same way, or interpreting it exactly the same way. It could create more confusion. Look, guys, I'm going to have to run. It's after 7. I got another get together as well. Are we done with substantive business or not?
Thank you for coming. You're
My
dismissed.
question is, are we done with substantive business, or are you going to try to do more?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We're done.
I
Okay.
move we adjourn.
Okay, second,
Okay.
meeting adjourned.
Mohammed, did you just join in or have you been here?
Barbara, he's been here since almost the beginning.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Sorry. Oh, fantastic. Sorry. I missed that you were there. Sorry.
He came right after.
Barbara,
Roll
there's a
call,
motion that's been
actually.
duly seconded. Are you going
Hold
to
on.
call for a vote or not?
Okay.
Mute.
Vote to adjourn. All in favor, hold up your hand. Okay. Thank you all. See
Thank
you next
you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.